the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty. Take a lap.
Yo, welcome to the Fantasy Football Show. We're not going to be here long, but we're here to commend Josh Allen on his playoff win. We're here to commend Joey B, Joseph Burrow, playoff Joey Cool Joey, whatever you want to call him. Get burrowed. Josh Allen, Herbert Mahomes, these guys are special. I'm here to reiterate my feeling and advice as it relates to quarterback drafting and how people need to learn about what it means to draft an early round quarterback, or as we coin it, middle round quarterback drafting. We're going to beat a dead horse on this one. We're going to talk about it because Allen can win you fantasy football championships, and he's getting better and better and better. Joe Burrow is getting better and better and better. Herbert's going to get better. Mahomes is still going to get better and stay consistent. These four quarterbacks are special, and they can carry you week in and week out. Josh Allen, what he's doing right now, he kind of already did during the year on and off. He'd have a bad half, do almost nothing in the first two quarters of a game, and do kind of what he did in this game in two quarters. But people that didn't own Josh Allen in 2021 didn't realize that. They saw the end of game stats. They go, okay, he had 3 TDs and 255 yards, whatever. And they don't realize he did it in two quarters. Josh Allen is still getting better. His offense is still getting better. The running game is finally up to speed. And that's been a big difference maker for this offense because now the Bills are not one-dimensional. And boy, does Singletary look good. Singletary looks absolute straight fire. Singletary looks like the guy that we thought he would be walking into his rookie season. I was super high on Singletary, and I admit I lost faith in him because the dude hasn't brought what he's been bringing lately to the fantasy football game. And I don't know how I feel about him moving forward, quite frankly. Like, I don't know where we draft him in 2022. We'll obviously get to that in the offseason. This show isn't about Singletary, but I do want to give him his kudos, his flowers, and say, Singletary, we salute you, Singletary, because you're out there burrowing people constantly. You're out there lambing people. Where's my lamb button? Where's my lamb button?
Get lambed.
How about this one?
Go ahead.
Getting lambed.
Get lambed. Lamb's going to do some lambing, I believe, tomorrow. So get ready for CeeDee Lamb to make his appearance and rear his head once more and make people believe in what this guy's capable of being in 2022. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be one of the most undervalued wide receivers in 2022 fantasy football because he didn't have the most amazing, finish to the year, and people are a little bit disappointed in him. That's good. You're the reason I took Allen in the 4th round, says Max. Max, this is one of the smartest comments I've seen all night right here. Max right here. Max said, you're the reason I took Allen in round 4. Do you know how many people clowned on us when we said early QB? Early QB. Don't be scared of Josh Allen. Don't be scared of Josh Allen. I know we're in a playoff game. This game didn't count toward your fantasy football season. I understand that. But what we're trying to say is we, as a community, you, me, Bob, Steve, Uncle Bud, Grandma. I see you, Grandma. We all knew Josh Allen was going to get better and get to this level. And the funny part is, people will still be scared to go early quarterback. People will revert back to their ways and say, well, but analysts always tell me, Smitty, let's wake up Miss Smitty. She's going to be upset.
But Smitty, analysts always say that you can't go quarterback early because there's so many good quarterbacks later, and running backs are top priority, Smitty. Isn't that true still?
Everybody and their mother says that over and over. And there's truth to it. There is truth to it. The running back position is scarce. I'm not a moron. You're not a moron. We are not collectively morons sitting here. But what people fail to understand is that if you do go early quarterback, which is not early quarterback, Josh Allen in round 4 is not early quarterback drafting. That's middle round quarterback drafting. For those that don't understand what early quarterback drafting is, that means you were probably in diapers when Kurt Warner went number 1 overall. Back-to-back years, number one. Dante Culpepper, number one overall. Peyton Manning, number one or number two or number three overall. That's the way it was. There were 45 TD quarterbacks in a world where quarterbacks didn't throw for 40 touchdowns or even 38. Now it's a different NFL. The NFL's evolved. It's now pass heavy. Rules cater to more passing. And now quarterbacks that used to throw for 42, 45, they can now be 50 and 52, especially with the extra game. These quarterbacks can now be 50 and 52, 53, 54 TD passers. If you think that Mahomes, who can throw for 50, can't throw for 54 in the new consistently evolving NFL with the rules that cater to the pass and just racking up scores, if you don't think Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Herbert can't get to a 50 TD level, like one of them each year getting near that mark. I'm not saying all four of them are all hitting 50s. I'm not saying they're dropping the 50 spot every year, all four of them. I'm saying every year, one of them is going to flirt with either 54 or 49, 50, whatever. And Allen can throw for 47, 46 and run for 6 or 7. Allen could breach 50 touchdowns total without throwing more than 45, 46. And people need to understand that. So I'm here to just merely say Josh Allen's fire. Absolute fire. Joe Burrow is absolute fire. Mahomes and Herbert already fire. We anointed them fire quarterbacks a while ago. We're just telling you, Josh Allen, my number one ranked quarterback all offseason long. From January until this very moment. Never wavering. He's my number one. He had some ups and downs. The downs are good. They're good news. It's good news that Josh Allen struggled last year because that means he's going to get better. If he can finish as the number one fantasy football quarterback in 2021, which he did with a whole bunch of struggles without a run game pretty much the entire year, which they finally got now, which is why Josh Allen's looking even more fire and balanced and impossible to stop. If Allen can look like that, the number one overall quarterback in fantasy football, coming out of 2021 with a bunch of ups and downs, imagine what he could do if there's a healthy run game, a balanced attack, more additions in the offseason. This man's going to be straight fire. He's going to continue. His flame will get bigger. He's going to be potentially breaching second round value eventually if people see a 54 TD season in 2022. If Allen runs for 6, 7 touchdowns, throws for 45, okay, scores 52 to 53 total touchdowns with the extra game, mind you, then he will start breaching second round value to a lot of people. And people will still balk at it. People will still say, analysts have been telling me since I came out of the womb, Smitty, that you can't take a quarterback early. It's absolutely crazy, Smitty, that you're talking about this. I've never heard this in my life. Everybody regurgitates it, Smitty. And you're going to continue to hear it because running back, traditional fantasy football, you go running back, robust running back, running back, running back. People that draft a position and not a player, what fun is that anyways? People that draft a position and not a player, they look at their nifty little tier sheet and they say, well, I'll let you decide for me. This is a person that doesn't want the 1 pick. They want the 4 pick and they want you to pick which running back they get out of their 4. I like running backs 1 through 4 equally. Why don't I take the 4 pick? Let's take all the fun out of it. You select 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll take the leftover guy from my tier sheet, Smitty, because all I do is draft a position and not a player. I don't care who I have. I go off the Excel sheet. I'm Excel sheet Eric. My name is Excel sheet Eric, and I only draft off the Excel sheet. That's how I roll. So, I draft players. I don't know about you. I draft players. I am the biggest. Let me put this up over here. You guys know me. I am the biggest, best player available drafter known to man on the planet. I am BPA, best player available. That is BPA, best player available. Always will be, always have been for the most part. Sometimes this leads us down a road where we get to draft running back. That's the problem people don't understand is best player available allows you to be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. Matt Clamp, or Gary or Kenny Powers or Slater or any of you that are in here right now, Gary Santos, you guys can be anything you want. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and you're special. And all you got to do if you want to bring that to the field, broskies, is go BPA. Because if you go BPA, the doors start opening for you. The doors open for you. If you go BPA, you could go running back, wide receiver. That can happen because this might be the best player on the board. This guy might be the best player on the board. This guy might be the best player on the board. Well, then what are you even talking about, Schmitty? If you're saying that you can draft running back, you're confusing me. Are you BPA or are you running back? I'm whatever best player available takes me to. Whatever road I go down because of best player available. Because best player available might lead you into a position where you're drafting in round 1, 2, 3, you might see a wide receiver here. You might see a wide receiver here. You might see an RB here. You might still get your QB in round 4. Best player available might just have it to where you don't draft your RB2 or your RB3 until round 5 and round 6. And boo-hoo. Boo-hoo if you're a little bit worried about your running back 2 because you went best player available. But what you did is you put yourself in a position to score the most amount of points, grabbing the guys that will score the most amount of points as possible. You're not sacrificing at another position because you decided to go running back. I'm going to take a lesser player because he's a running back. Running backs are very hard to come by. It's a very stale position, and I must get one no matter who he is and forego the potential digs that might be sitting here at the bottom of round 2 because people are scared of him. Or people aren't going to buy into Jamar Chase, and he falls into this in between rounds 1 and 2, which I don't think will happen. I think Jamar Chase is going, especially if he continues to do well in the playoffs and Joey B takes him another round, Joey B feeds him a couple touchdowns, people are going to draft him number 4, number 5 overall. And then it's game over. You're not getting Jamar Chase outside of the top 6 overall. I did a video a while back. Gary's in here. Gary, I don't mean to go at you on this one, but when I said Jamar Chase is a top 5 overall player for me walking into 2022 redraft, meaning if I'm forced to, I will take him number 5 overall. I will take Jamar Chase number 5 overall if I'm forced to. I don't think I'll need to be forced to. It depends on how he finishes, but I'm not scared. I don't care what people think about me or what people say about my draft style. I'm drafting the best player every time I'm on the clock. Every time I'm on the clock. That's what best player available means. It's very simple. When you're on the clock in round 1, here's round 1. Okay, you're picking at pick number 10. Okay, here's round 2. You're picking at pick number 10 and you're on the clock. Is the best player available a wide receiver or is it a running back? Whoever it is, you take them. You don't say, "Oh, I'll take the lesser player, leave points on the board because I'm scared." Don't play scared. Understand that you have the talent and you're going to have the arsenal provided by your man Smitty to get you into a position to have sleepers and breakouts that are going to do it for you. That are going to be that guy that comes in and saves the day at your running back too, so that you can take advantage of getting your best player available wide receiver instead of forcing a running back and grabbing a lesser player, an admittedly lesser player because you're worried or scared. We'll land you the sleepers. You'll do your homework. You'll have an arsenal of running back twos waiting for you to tackle your void that you're going to potentially create by going BPA. BPA doesn't always create voids. It doesn't. Sometimes everything flows and falls into the right perspective and people land in the right spots and you draft a balanced team. But yes, going best player available oftentimes can leave you with one big void on your team. One big void. Not many of them. One big void. Here's your QB. Okay, here's your running back, wide receiver, or your flex. Let's just say you had that. Your running back 2 might be a void. Might be a problem for you. But you're going to be stacked at your running back 1. You're going to be stacked at your wide receiver 1. You'll be really good at your wide receiver 2. I'm writing World War II. Your wide receiver 2 and your QB 1, you're going to be stacked across the board. You're not mediocre because you forced a running back you didn't like. You drafted the best player available who happened to be a wide receiver, and then you got a running back that you believe in. Like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Just trust in the process. Trust in what you're throwing down all offseason in mock drafts and test it out. You might mock draft a ton and not like going wide receiver in round 1, and then you know your style. That's the other thing, is everybody needs to draft to their strength. If you find out through mock drafting that you don't do well doing a certain thing that even I'm telling you to do, don't do it. Ultimately, you need to do what works for you because everybody's different. Let's go to some of the comments before we jump out of here. It's going to be, I said it was going to be a short one. Who knows? 51 of you in here, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new. Mealy says, I found you, Smitty, around week 4. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I'm not taking Chase round 1. You're having... Oh, I'm not taking Chase round 1. You're having a laugh. Okay. I recommend you take him in round 1. I recommend you take him as the number 1 wide receiver taken, but that's me. BPA redraft 2022. Let's go. Megaphone. Get it out. Get it out. I won my Super Bowl. Amazing. Absolutely. Maybe Mealy was joking. You got it, Smitty. Appreciate you. I think maybe Mealy's going to draft a Jamar Chase in round 1. I think Mealy's just joking, but I'm not sure. Okay, Bills look phenomenal. Bills look absolutely phenomenal. First time playing fantasy football, my idea was QB's most important, about the first, and then best player available was a thought. He was unreal and dominant, but there was no Hawk and no Swift. You're talking about St. Brown, I think. Gary says BPA sucks. Gary, I try and emphasize I appreciate you being here. I don't mind having differing opinions as long as people are respectful. And the laughing emoji, that gives me an indication you're joking or you're having fun with it. But literally, Gary, I sometimes wonder why you're here. Like, you and I don't agree on really anything that I've found. And so I wonder, am I entertaining? Like, what are you here for, Gary? I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious why you show up, because everything I say you don't agree with. So I'm just curious, what are you attracted to fire? Like, explain yourself, Gary, just so I know what's going on inside Gary's head. Because literally everything out of my mouth, Gary does not like. He says I'm drunk. He says that everything I'm saying sucks. I'm just curious, Gary, what's going on in your mind. Void can be filled on waiver wire. Absolutely, champ. BPA is definitely the way to go, but it can definitely lopside your team. It definitely can, Matt. And again, waiver wire, sleeper picks, getting Madison and guys like that who stepped up big, getting on top of the Fournette situation before that unfolded. There's a lot of ways to fill your wide receiver 3 and 2 and running back 2 spots. Going best player available usually doesn't hurt you too bad at the running back 1 spot. It's more so you might go lighter at running back 1, but it hurts you at running back 2 or your wide receiver 3 or whatever. Gary, BPA was my worst league. Well, Gary, doesn't mean you did it right. I was playing BPA, had me crawling to the waiver wire. Do I entertain you? I do wonder. Do I entertain you, Gary? Like, I know you say you're joking, but literally most of the time you don't agree with me. So I'm genuinely curious. What do you like about the show? I'm just curious. I'm serious. I'm not joking. I'm waiting for an answer. But Smitty Joe Burrow was about to run out of footballs, says Austin. Interesting. You're gonna have to be a waiver. You're gonna have to be on the waiver wire no matter what. Exactly, White Mamba. I agree. Smitty spitting facts. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you don't have to always agree with me. I'm not saying you're saying that just to be nice. But I mean, like, anybody watching, it's like, I don't know about this. Like, I have a lot of time to convince you. If you're new to the channel, let's say you found me tonight, and you're like, I don't know about this guy. Best player available. Like, first of all, read the chat. If you go into a room and you're watching a video and you're not sure about an analyst, like, look at the chat, see what the chat is saying. If the chat's like, this guy sucks or whatever, like, maybe that person's just trying to entertain you, like Gary thinks I'm trying to do with him. But we have a process here that works, and it doesn't work for everybody. And I'm telling you up front, if it doesn't work for you in your draft style, don't do it. Do what works for you. You could win drafting Travis Kelce in round 1. I don't recommend it. You can win doing it, but you can't hand somebody a blueprint and say, hey, here, go try drafting Travis Kelce tight end in round 1 and draft a winning team, because it's very hard to do. You have to have a particular set of skills that you've acquired over a long career, skills that make you a nightmare for other people in your fantasy league, in order to actually pull off the Travis Kelce round 1, or even in the top 14. It leaves you in such a bind at every other position. You're running around playing catch up at wide receiver, playing catch up at running back, and some people are trained for it. You can't just go out there first go, never doing it before, first attempt and land it. It's not an easy thing to do. So just know that just because best player available works for most people, there are a few of you that might not do well with it. And I'm telling you up front, it's okay to do your own thing if it's successful and proven. But in my opinion, best player available, it can only really put you in a bind in one spot. And if you play waiver wire like Mamba said, or you do well with sleeper drafting, or you're going to, because I'm going to alert you to the guys I expect to be, amazing this year from an underrated perspective, you'll be able to fill the void, and you won't have a void. Going best player available this is what happens if you go best player available. Let me just show you on the whiteboard. You go best player available, you end up with a team like this. Okay, you take Allen in round, you got him in the end of 4 or whatever. You took let's say you did take a running back. Let's say you took JT at your second round pick or whatever, because he was there, and you went with a wide receiver. Right here, you took Jefferson in round 2. Let's say you took JT in round 1. Let's just say JT at the end of round 1. You took Allen at 4. You took Jefferson at 2. People said, don't do it. Get a running back. Get Gibby. Get somebody else. But you went best player available. This kind of team right here, and let's say you got Allen later. This kind of team right here is the kind of team that you end up drafting or landing or picking up Fournette. And then your team straight fire, because you had this one job to do. You had one job to do all year long, is to figure out that spot. And if you do it, your team looks phenomenal. Your team looks so much better than everybody else's. You have a team that people say, how did he get that team? How did he get that team? How did he get a team that he shouldn't have? It's because he made the one move, whether it was trade, waiver wire, whatever, the one move that got them in a position that they had this team that if you would have drafted a running back, you would have had this running back. But because you didn't, and you took it to the waiver wire and trade and whatever, you were able to get these other positions locked down and focus on one thing all offseason long. Let's see here. I took Kelce 7th overall, and I dropped the ball in that league. It was tough road. I don't think I'd ever go tight end again. It's not for everybody, Matt, and I don't advise it for anybody. I would never take a tight end in round 1. I don't care about the positional advantage, and that's where people got to understand. I see some ADP equal BPA. It's not the same. Drafting off ADP is not BPA. Completely different. They share a lot of similarities, but it's not the same thing. So drafting off ADP is taking the next best guy, okay? Who's the highest average drafted position? Has nothing to do with it. BPA, best player available, who is the best player available according to the way you're looking at things. Kelce would be, in a sense, in some people's mind that have never played BPA before, be like, well, Kelce's the best player available. He crushes everybody his position. But if you factor in ADP, and you factor in the likelihood of landing somebody else like a Kittle or Waller later, Kelsey's ADP doesn't match with best player available. He's not the best player available, even though his ADP might tell you, hey, draft Kelsey. You don't need to draft Kelsey because you can go get a Knox. You can go get this player. That devalues his best player available ranking in your mind, if you will. A quarterback like Mahomes or Allen or Herbert might be the best player in your mind at a certain point in a draft, but because you can get Burrow 3 rounds later, maybe Mahomes is not the best player available in round 3, even though on paper you could argue it if you knew he was going to explode and have a big season. So like, here's my example. So in round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you can get Burrow right here, and at the end of 3, that's where Mahomes is going. Let's just say I had Mahomes ranked 1. I don't. I have Josh Allen ranked 1. Or let's use Josh Allen. Let's just say people come off this game and they're like, I love Allen. I'm taking him at the end of the 3rd round, which is justifiable, okay? So if Allen's there at the 3rd round, he is my number 1 quarterback, okay? So who is by ADP and by my argument, who's the number 1 quarterback in the fantasy football? Josh Allen. He's going at 3.10, let's say. Let's say he's going at 3.10. Do I take him? Is he best player available? Actually, he's not. Because if he's going at 3.10, but Burrow's going at 5.7, Burrow is the best player available at that spot. So I'm going to forego taking my quarterback early. That's best player available. You navigate around ADP. In your assessment, who is the best player on the board given the position, given the competition at the position, given the flow of draft? It's an ever-evolving self-evaluation of your team, an ever-evolving evaluation of the talent left on the board. It completely is different than going ADP. I just want to clarify that because I saw ADP in here. I just wanted to clarify that. I know you're saying I think ADP equals BPA. I don't know what you're saying there, Niner. Or Gary. Smitty is said ADP does not equal BPA. I don't know. You guys are arguing about something and I don't know what exactly is happening. Mealy feels what I'm putting down. Mealy knows what's going on here. Mealy says it's an explanation. Look, again, it just comes down to who. So when you're on the clock, let's say you're on the clock right here. Let's say you're on the clock at 3.1. This might be a running back. Let's say you're on the clock at 2.1. This might be a running back. It very well could be a running back. The best player available could be a running back at 2.1. I'm not saying it has to be a wide receiver, but here's why I tell you wide receiver, and this is the last thing I'll say. The reason I believe wide receiver is the best approach in 2022, or it could be, or at least wide receiver running back. Okay, so if you're not on board, you're just, okay, look, Smitty, I get you, but I'm not going wide receiver. I've done it before. It sucks. Let's say that's the case. The reason I think you're going to at least go wide receiver running back, so this is round 1, this is round 2. The reason I think you'll at least go wide receiver running back is because in rounds 1 through, let's just go rounds 1, 2, and like to this point. So this is like 3.2. And this right here is like 1.7. Okay? So from 1.7 to 3.2, most of the best players, the most reliable players, the most consistent players, in my mind, are probably going to be wide receivers. So the likelihood of, if you're drafting 1.1 to 1.4, you're probably going to go running back. Not because you're predetermined to, but because they're the best player available. Okay? JT, 1.1, best player available. There's no arguing that. If A-Rod lands in Pittsburgh, then Harris and JT are neck and neck at 1.1. But right now, 1.1, JT, best player available. No argument. Number 2 overall, Najee Harris, best player available. I'm not telling you to go wide receiver from the 1.1. I'm not telling you to go wide receiver from the 1.2 or 1.3, probably 1.4. Even Derrick Henry, if you promise me that you'll trade him by week 8 at the very latest, Derrick Henry's probably a guy you might take at 4 or 5 or 3 or wherever you want. And I Smitty approve it. I Smitty approved Derrick Henry in the top 5.
You've just been Smitty approved.
If you promise to trade him by week number 8 to be safe. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, but even 4 or 5, I'm okay with going running back there if you feel like it's the best player on the board. Truly, the best player on the board. But I'm taking Jamar Chase. Right around 1.5 to 1.6. That's me. After the big 3 running backs are off the board, maybe Javonte, if it really feels like Denver is going to solve this quarterback situation by Russell Wilson or by potentially bringing in Aaron Rodgers, if I really feel that Javonte's going to see this quarterback upgrade and the Denver Broncos will move forward, and I believe they will. I believe they're saving Javonte because why run all the tread off the tires in a year that doesn't matter? So I understand why they did what they did this year. I think they know what they have. And Javonte could be a top 4 pick. After Javonte, potentially Henry, I take Jamar Chase over taking Dalvin Cook. I take Jamar Chase over taking Alvin Kamara. I take Jamar Chase over taking Joe Mixon. And you could argue that, and I'm okay with that. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not making anybody take laps. I'm not calling anybody out if you like Mixon number 5 overall and Chase number 6 or Chase number 7. I personally will draft Jamar Chase at 5, and I won't hesitate. In Dynasty, no question about it. In redraft, I'll try and get a little cute and creative to get the best value I can get in redraft. In Dynasty, people know what time it is. No one's sleeping at the wheel with Jamar Chase. Everybody feels he's the number 1 Dynasty wide receiver. Him and Justin Jefferson, locked and loaded, 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. Depends on your view on JJ and Cousins in the future there. But Jamar Chase and Jefferson are the number 1 and the number 2 without question. No Cooper Kupp isn't even close in Dynasty. We're talking Dynasty. Dynasty is a whole different monster. If you've never played Dynasty, it might feel weird to you. It might feel disrespectful to you. You might be like, wait a minute, did he just say Kupp is not close to Jamar Chase and Jefferson in Dynasty? He's not even close. Okay, he could be 3 or 4 or 5 on your rankings because you want to play more for the now, but you cannot trade whatsoever. You cannot trade a Cooper Kupp away for a JJ or a Cooper Kupp away for a Chase in a Dynasty league. It would be the worst trade you could make. Not the worst trade you can make, but it would be an awful trade. It wouldn't be a little down, awful trade, because Jamar Chase he's just getting going. He's young, barely can drink. Like this guy's just getting going. He's got a decade ahead of him. Cooper Kupp, he probably has another good 2 to 3 years left, but in Dynasty, that's not a long time. Week 1 will be here like that, and then the next week 1 will be here like that. You'll be looking at Cooper Kupp at that. Okay, he's shaking. Look at Hopkins. Look at Hopkins right now. Look at Julio Jones. Look how quickly you can fall off the face of the earth. In redraft, you could argue Cooper Kupp number 1 for wide receivers. In redraft, it's debatable for sure. In Dynasty, no way. Chase, Jefferson, page break, complete page break, tier break. Next group of wide receivers, please step in. So for me, number 5, I'll take Jamar Chase without hesitation. I'll laugh in people's faces if it's Dynasty, if they even say a word about me taking Jamar Chase too high. In a Dynasty startup, I'll take Jamar Chase at 4. At me if you want. I don't care. Write a comment and see how many people support Jamar Chase as a top 4 to 5 in Dynasty. The whole fantasy football show community is going to support that. Where I am getting pushback, admittedly, is with Jamar Chase 5 or 6 in redraft. I think people are having a little bit of a problem with that. I believe today's game, I believe Joe Burrow hitting the news, all the good talk about Joe Burrow, all the great talk about Jamar Chase, this offense mixing the Bengals, could they win the Super Bowl? They're amazing. I think it's bumping up the respect for Jamar Chase as a 5 or a 6 overall in redraft. But I'm telling you, I'm not scared to say it. And I'm going to draft him at 5 if I have to, at 7 or 8 if I can. And I think maybe right now you could. I think by July 1, no one's letting Jamar Chase fall to 8 or 9. I see some people say, I'm not taking Jamar Chase in the first round, but I'll take him in the second. Good luck. You think you're getting Jamar Chase in round 2 in 2022? You got to be out of your mind. Out of your mind. It's not happening. Wake up. Enjoy that dream that you just had where you got Jamar Chase in round 2 in 2022 redraft. Not going to happen. Jamar Chase will need to be taken between 5 and 8 come July and August, and you're going to have to deal with it. So deal with it. Let's go. Let's roll. Yeah, I would take, in Dynasty, put Chase at 3. I could put Chase at 3. At me. At me all you want. At me all you want. 2 elite running backs. Then maybe Waddle and St. Brown. What are you talking about, Gary? Mixon. Look, hey, Uzi, you want me to admit an oopsie? I doubted. I doubted Mixon more than I should have in 2021, pal. I admit that. I'll take my L. I'll take my lap right now. Where's my lap button? Smitty taking a lap for my lack of support for Joe Mixon, even though I love the Bengals. I felt like I didn't feel like he was going to put it all together, stay healthy. He did. He proved me wrong. My bad. Taking a lap right now.
Take a lap.
Appreciate you all. I think Waddle got a rookie reception record. What's this guy saying? XJ saying you are out of your mind if Chase won't be drafted in second round in most leagues. I don't know if he's saying that to me or saying out of your mind if you think he'll be there. I think what I'm reading is you think I'm out of my mind because Chase will go in round 2 or round 1 and not in round 2. I don't know if I got that right. Clarify that for me before we screen grab this. He's not chasing falling to round 2. I don't know if that's what you're arguing. Not come July. Not at all. We move ADPs if you're new, somebody tell them. Somebody tell them what we do to ADP values. If Jamar Chase has an ADP of, let's say, 14 right now, we will move mountains, bro. We will move. I guarantee you that this show is egotistical as this sounds, and I don't care. We do what we do. I know what we do. I know what we're capable of doing. I know what we've done in the past. I know what we did with CeeDee Lamb. I know what we did with Javonte Williams. We've done it with multiple players. I know what we did with Josh Allen. We were responsible for moving Josh. Yes, I know it sounds arrogant and cocky. We do a lot of mock drafting. Our community, this show, was responsible for moving ADPs on a lot of guys by multiple spots. And I guarantee you, we will have a hand in moving Jamar Chase's value up at least 1 or 2 draft slots in fantasy football ADP data. That is on us. We're doing that single-handedly. I guarantee it. I'll be beating this Jamar Chase drum so much, his ADP will climb by at least 1 or 2 full draft slots across all ADP data because of this show and what we do and how we do it. Guaranteed. And if anybody's new that thinks that's crazy, ask anybody in the chat if we move mountains when it comes to ADP and what we do in mock drafts, because we mock draft a ton. We're in the data every single night doing several mock drafts, and then people jump off the live stream and mock draft more and more, and our community is very like-minded. We influence the data heavily. Jimmy G can't handle the Cowboys. I agree. Let's see here. If Chase is this highly ranked, which I agree, where would you rank Burrow? I have a quarterback ranking. If you look back a video or so, I have a quarterback special by top 6 quarterbacks. I take Joe Burrow in late round 4, early round 5 right now. And I don't really hesitate, but we do need to know where his ADP is because, Zveda, we need to make sure we're being smart about it. Like, just because I think he could be worth a 4th rounder or 5th rounder, and I think it depends on how he finishes, right? If Joe Burrow gets bounced in the next game and he doesn't have a big game, his ADP is going to be unaffected. He will be a 5th or 6th round pick in 2022 redraft, and you're going to clean up if you can get Joe Burrow in round 5 or 6. I repeat, I want you all to take advantage of the ADP. I do not want you to lock any kind of thinking in terms of these values walking into right now, leading into mock drafting and kickoff. If Burrow balls out, let's say Burrow makes it to the Super Bowl and loses, but has monster games. Jamar Chase has a 2 TD 140 game here in the playoffs. Joe Burrow throws for 4 or 5. If Joe Burrow does what Allen just did in one game, and let's say he even loses the game, so next game Joe Burrow throws for 4 or 5 TDs, has 350 yards, he will be a 4th or 5th rounder to a lot of people, maybe higher, but probably 4th rounder. And I would take him there. But I'm telling you right now, Zaveda, do not draft him any higher than you have to. And there's nothing wrong with going early QB. That's why I'm doing this whole show. With all the 49er people around you, you're predicting a loss. I am, and I'm taking heat for it. But I never fold. You know, sometimes I'll have fun and I'll do a fun ranking or something. But when people ask me to predict who's going to win, and it's a big serious bet, and we do that on the live stream on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on IG, the Fantasy Football Show, same handle as the YouTube channel. Follow me there, and it's always a fun time when I say that the Niners are going to lose, and I get a lot of heat for it. But I think that Jimmy G's not going to be able to hang with that Dallas D playmaking defense. Jimmy G's weakness is throwing the ball, and the Dallas Cowboy defense is pick sixing from weak quarterbacks. And the Niners are their strength is running the ball, but if they do fall behind at all, they can't throw against Dallas's D enough. If they up their passing attempts, they're going to up the risk level, and then Dallas is going to take one home, and it's going to be game over. So the Niners need to get up big. I'm not saying the Niners can't win. It's like a 50-50 game. The Niners could win it. The Cowboys could win it. But I think people are blindly saying, oh, the Cowboys are going to crush them. Oh, the Niners are going to crush them. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. No one's crushing anybody. Okay, that's it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button. And as always, for the next 24 to 48 hours, I pretty much almost guarantee I could get to every one of your questions. So if any of you in here, I should see 52 questions when I get off this live stream. The video will end. It'll post on YouTube with 0 comments. Make sure you ask me a question in the comments. I will get to you. Especially if you do it like right now or in the next couple hours, I will get to you. Grant, you're a legend, bro. And this isn't Grant. This isn't the show Grant, the intern. This is a different Grant. Appreciate you, Grant. Get ready for that 96 team league. $20 super chatters are going to get a spot as long as spots last. And that's not an entry fee of any kind. It's not like there's a big prize pool of money. This is people just donating super chats to the show, and me creating a really cool league for a lot of you awesome people that help keep the show running. And so anybody that drops a super chat of $20, as long as we have spots, we'll get in. And the prize was phenomenal this last year. We had, it was called the Door League last year. We had a DK Metcalf frame jersey autographed with lights and everything. And the Cardboard Crew from the YouTube channel, one of the followers, won that. And I did an Instagram story post on it. It looked amazing. He unboxed it. He showed it. He tagged me, and then I reposted it. So if anybody wants in that league, again, drop a $20 super chat. Again, it's not an entry fee of any kind, just so you're aware. But we have one of the coolest. We have a lot of good prizes. They always come in. The first place is going to get more than just this one thing. They'll probably get this ring as well. The first place will probably be getting. Where's the ring? First place of the 96 team league 2022 Cup Fantasy Cup League we'll probably be getting one of these amazing $150 to $300 fantasy football rings. They feel like a Super Bowl ring. They look like a Super Bowl ring, but they are a fantasy ring. The weight of it, it's amazing. These are not $40 rings. These are about $150 to $300 something rings. First place will get a custom one with their name on it at the end of this. That is almost a 99% lock as one of the prizes. The second prize that is pretty much locked into place is a Hall of Fame Niner helmet autographed by Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, and it's phenomenal. This helmet is beautiful. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Hall of Fame helmet edition, I believe is what it's called. I'll find the exact details. Don't quote me on the exact name of it or whatever. But I believe it's a Hall of Fame helmet autograph. So Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, 49ers, amazing. I put it up on my stories. That's going to first place. The ring's probably going to be a part of that as well. Like, there are prizes galore. So if you want in on that, we have about 35 spots out of the 96 teams, 8 copies of every player in the player pool. I can play this right here so you guys can see what it's all about.
I give you Fantasy Cup 2022.
15 rounds, 96 owners. That's 1,440 picks. 8 copies of every player in the player pool.
That means Jonathan Taylor will likely consume all of picks 1 through 8. And Henry and Cup could make up most of picks 9 through 24.
60-minute timer.
This draft could take 80 days to complete.
96 owners, 15 rounds, 8 copies of every player in the player pool.
One division of 96. One winner.
I give you Fantasy Cup 2022.
So get ready for that. That league's coming. Hit subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button. Comment after the video ends. So we got about 35 spots left. Anybody dropping a $20 super chat or more will get a spot as long as we have spots available. 35 or so are available. And this blackboard behind me, your name gets written on it all year long. So you will be a part of that as well. So appreciate all you. 49er Faithful Lee is in the league. Gary, I believe, is in there. A lot of you are in there. I think Gary's in there. Is it Gary or is it 49er? I think 49er's in it. Appreciate all you. Leave a comment.